I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, virtues of masters, the compassion of our grand predecessors, all the transmitters, and every one of you for giving me this opportunity to learn to speak in today's class on the 10 good acts or wholesome actions, or the 10 vices and unwholesome actions. Okay, so as Lecturer Kai had mentioned before, it's divided into 3 as bodily, 4 as speech, and 3 as mental actions. So now we are up to the mental actions. If any one of you missed last week's class, you can always go back to the recording that we had given out in the email. So mental actions is to abandon covetousness. Did I say it right? Covetousness. Okay. So wanting what we don't have and wanting what others have is considered as greed or envy. Okay. So a lot of times we see people with big homes and we want a home just like theirs, or a beautiful Mercedes, and we aim to get ourselves a Mercedes. This is called covetousness. Okay. So this will create all sorts of unethical actions. For example, if we want a job, okay, some people can lie in order to get that job. If we want money, some people can steal in order to get that money. And if we want a child, some people get obsessed and get unbalanced. So we all want things, okay? However, we don't have to lose our way into getting them. The trick is to know within ourselves when our desires are wholesome or at least neutral, or when it becomes motivations to harm other people. So wanting to be a better person and wanting to help others is a wholesome desire. But if we want to have more than other people, is an unwholesome desire. And feeling that we must have this food or a piece of clothing or a mode of comfort will lead to distress. Okay? So if we can envision on these imperfection of covetousness, greed, we can recognize it as an unwholesome action. The Buddha says, if one gives up covetousness, then one will attain the accomplishment of 5 kinds of freedom. It's the freedom of bodily, verbal, and mental actions, because one's 6 faculties are perfect. We can attain freedom regarding properties, because all enemies and robbers cannot rob one. We can have freedom regarding marriage, because whatever one wishes for will be provided. We can have freedom of being in the position of king, including all precious, rare, and marvelous things that will be reverently offered to me, to one. The things one will get will surpass in excellency by 100 times, because this is due to one that was neither stingy nor envious of others in the past. Okay. So number 9 is to abandon ill will. Not having ill will means no malicious mind or intention, no hatred or vexation. So to abstain from ill will instead of wanting another being, abstain from ill will instead of wanting another being to die or be harmed. One wants all being to live and be happy, and that is loving kindness and compassion. So we should not have hateful thoughts nor harmful thoughts for anyone that we encounter, or that's why we always will have to watch our thoughts, because if we get into a conflict with somebody and mentally we are saying to ourselves, oh, I wish this person will have an accident later or something like that, right? That's ill will. So don't have ill will for anybody. So Buddha says, if one gives up hatred, then one will attain to 8 kinds of dharmas of joy of the mind. One's mind is free from injury and annoyance to others. One's mind is free from hatred. One's mind is free from the desire to dispute and to argue. One's mind is gentle and upright. One's mind has attained to the mind of loving kindness of a saint. One is of a mind that always acts beneficially, giving peace to beings. One's bodily appearance is dignified, and one is respected by all. Because one is kind and forbearing, one will be born soon in the Brahma world. Okay. So lastly, abandoning wrong views. Having the right view, not to have the wrong view, means giving, sacrifice, and offerings. These are right views. These are fruits of results of good and bad deeds, which determine our afterlife. The right view or the right understanding have consequences. So we have to first understand the Four Noble Truths, which is the truth of suffering, and that is dukkha. The truth to the cause of suffering, that is from what? Craving, desire, and attachments. The truth to the end of suffering, and is to attain nirvana by eliminating craving, desire, and attachments. And fourthly is truth of the path that leads to the ending of suffering by following Buddha's Eightfold Path, which Lecture Kai mentioned, which is the proper view, proper intentional thought, proper speech, proper actions, proper conduct, proper livelihood, efforts, mindfulness, and proper concentration. So, right view is the precursor of the Noble Eightfold Path. The purpose of right view is to clear one's mind from confusion, misunderstanding, and deluded thinking. It is a means to gain right understanding of reality. Okay. So, the right view requires a deep understanding and involves accepting the doctrines of Buddhism. One is the karma. We have to know that every action of the body, speech, and mind will result in a karma. Okay. And that will influence our future rebirth and realms in the afterlife. Number 2 is the 3 marks of existence. The 3 marks of existence is also known as the 3 Dharma seals. So everything, whether physical or mental, is impermanent, and that is called anicca. A source of suffering, that is called dukkha, okay, and lacks a self, which is no ego, no self-ego, and that's called anatta. The 4 Noble Truths are a means to gain insight and ending suffering, which is dukkha. The Buddha says, if one gives up wrong view, one will attain accomplishments of 10 meritorious dharma. One attains to genuinely good bliss of mind, and one gets genuinely good companions. Number 2, one has deep confidence in the law of cause and effect, and one would rather lose one's life than do evil. Number 3, one takes refuge in the Buddha only, and not in devas or others. Number 4, one is of straight mind and right views, and leaves behind the net of doubts about good and evil fortune. Number 5, one will not be born again in an evil course of existence, but will always be born as a man or a deva. Number 6, immeasurable blessings and wisdom will increase sublimely from turn to turn. Number 7, one will forever leave the wrong path and tread the holy path. Number 8, the view of a personality will not arise, and one gives up all evil actions. Number 9, one will abide in obstructed understanding. And lastly, number 10, one will not fall into any difficult situation. Okay. So, what is considered as meritorious actions? There are 3 of them: giving, virtue, and mind. So giving or charity will make a person happy, generate good merit, as well as develop non-attachment. Okay. So in Buddhism, the cultivation of giving and ethical conduct will refine our consciousness to such a level that rebirth in one of the lower hells is unlikely. Virtue or sila. The following virtues are widely promoted: perfections, generosity, proper conduct, abandonment, wisdom, energy, patience, honesty, determination, goodwill, and equanimity. So when we develop these virtues through the right action, it will promote happiness, generates good merit, and train the mind for ethical action. And then lastly, mind. That's mindfulness. It's an alert presence of mind, which allow one to be more aware of what is happening with one's intentional states. And that's very important. Okay. So clear comprehension, trust, confidence are very important morals in the teachings of Buddha. Wisdom and understanding are requirements to act morally. So when we have understanding, of the true nature of reality, it will lead to proper actions. Understanding of the truth of non-self allows one to be more detached from selfish motivations, and therefore it allows one to be more selfless. Okay. Having an understanding of the workings of the mind and the law of karma will make one less likely to perform an unethical action. So one should train in deeds of merit, which produce long-lasting happiness. Generosity, a balanced life, developing a loving mind. By cultivating these things, the wise person is reborn in bliss and in an untroubled, happy world. So the 10 unwholesome ways, or what we call the 10 vices, are the opposites of the 10 good acts or the 10 wholesome acts. Again, they are exactly the same. Okay. Bodily conduct is not to kill, not to harm living beings. Taking what is not given, that is stealing. No sex. Okay. So it's doing the opposite. So when we do these things, that is called 10 sins, okay, or 10 vices. Sexual misconduct, lying, slandering, harsh talk, useless idle chattering, covetousness thinking, hateful thinking, or ill will, seeing distortedly with wrong views. So these are the unwholesome acts. So one may ask, how does one know whether an action is wholesome or unwholesome? So wholesome or unwholesome will produce either happiness or unhappiness. The answer is what? Time will tell. The Buddha explained that as long as an unwholesome action does not bear its fruit of suffering, then if a person is foolish, they will think, oh, I don't have any consequences yet, so I see it as a wholesome action. Okay, so that is foolish. At the same time, if a person does a wholesome action, right, and they don't see that, oh, they're benefiting from all the wholesome action that they're doing, they may think, oh, this is an unwholesome action. So that's the human mind, right? So when that unwholesome action bears its fruit of suffering, then one will realize that action is unwholesome. Okay. So at the same time, if they do wholesome action and it bears its fruit of suffering, then they will realize that the action is good. So therefore, one needs to judge whether an act is wholesome or unwholesome, not in the short term, but more in the long term effect. Very simple. Wholesome actions result in happiness eventually for oneself. And unwholesome actions has the opposite result, which is suffering for oneself and for others. So if we avoid these unwholesome actions, we will avoid their consequences, which is suffering. Okay. So the fruit of these unwholesome actions can take various forms. So a fully ripened fruit of unwholesome action consists of rebirth in the lower realms, in the realms of suffering, such as hell, hungry ghosts, or animals. So if these unwholesome actions are not sufficient to result in rebirth in the lower realms, they will result in unhappiness in the life of a person in this human world. So if what they do is unwholesome, but it's not so bad that it will lead them into the 3 realms of the underworld, they will reincarnate as a human being with a lot of unhappiness in their life, a lot of obstacles in their life. Okay, so either way, it is a lot of suffering. So we do not do any unwholesome act. For example, killing, which is motivated by ill will and anger, will result in the taking life of other beings, and therefore it will result in rebirth in the hell where one's experience is saturated by anger and ill will, where one can be repeatedly killed. So what we do is what the end result will be. So if we kill somebody, okay, we can end up in the underworld where we will constantly be re-killed. Okay? Or if killing is not sufficiently heavy enough for the person to be reborn in the hell, it will result in a shortened life as a human being. Okay, separation from loved ones, to have fear or to have paranoia. Okay, so these are the effects of killing a person. So if we kill somebody and that killing is not bad enough for us to end up in the underworld, we will reincarnate as a human being where we have a lot of paranoia, fear, anxieties, to have a short life, and we will be separated from our loved ones. That's our suffering. Okay? So killing shortens the life of others and deprive others of their loved ones. So therefore, if we kill, we will be liable to end up having these experience of suffering to go through. Stealing comes from the defilement of desire, may lead to rebirth as a hungry ghost, where one is totally deprived of desired objects. If it does not result in rebirth as a hungry ghost, it will result in poverty, dependence upon others for one's livelihood, and so forth. Okay, so if we steal something that is not ours, we can end up as a hungry ghost. And if we steal not as bad as other stealings, and we don't end up in the realm of hungry ghosts, we can reincarnate as human beings, but we will be suffering with maybe no food, or maybe end up as being a homeless person, or maybe end up as someone that is struggling to make ends meet, someone that money is hard to come by. Okay, and also we will have to depend on other people to support us. Okay, sexual misconduct will result in military distress or unhappy marriages. Those are the sufferings. So wholesome actions would be to avoid unwholesome actions, and avoiding killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, wrongful speech, and bad thoughts relating to greed, anger, and ignorance. So one can do wholesome action that includes generosity, good conduct, meditation, respect, service, transfer of merits, rejoicing in the merits of others, hearing the Dharma, teaching the Dharma, and straightening one's own views. Just as unwholesome actions produce suffering, these wholesome actions will produce benefits. Example, generosity will result in wealth. Hearing of Dharma will result in wisdom. Okay. So, conditions of karma. Karma, whether it is wholesome or unwholesome, is modified by the conditions under which the actions are performed. So in other words, a wholesome or unwholesome action may be more or less strong depending upon the conditions under which it is done. The condition which determine the weight or strength of the karma may be divided into those which refer to the subject, which is the doer of the action, and those which refer to the object, which is the being to whom the action is done to. And therefore, the conditions that determine the weight of karma apply to the subject and object of the action. For example, killing. In order for the act of killing to have its complete and total power, 5 conditions must be present. 1 is a living being, the person or the living being that is being killed. 2, the awareness of the existence of a living being. 3, again, very important, the intention to kill the living being. That is very highly, the condition that it would depend on. The effort or action of killing the living being. And 5, the resulting death of the living being. These are all the conditions. The subjective and objective condition together determines the weight of the karma. This is important because understanding this will help us to understand that karma is not simply a black and white matter or good or bad matter. Karma is moral action and moral responsibility. But the law of karma matches the effect with cause, that it will take into account the subjective and the objective conditions that determine the nature of an action. The subjective conditions are the awareness of the living being, the intention to kill, and the actions of killing. The objective conditions are the presence of the living being and the resulting death of the living being. So there are 5 conditions that modify the weight of karma. And they are: 1, repeated action. If you constantly kill, repeated action. 2, action done with great intention and determination. Again, the intention. Number 3, action done without regret. So a lot of times we do something wrong, we all feel remorse or regret for doing this unwholesome act. However, if we have no regrets or no remorse, then that condition will be heavier, right? Action done towards those who possess extraordinary qualities. And 5, action done towards those who have benefited one in the past. So the subjective conditions are persistent action, action done with intention, and action done without regrets. If one does an unwholesome action again and again with great intention and without regret, the weight of the action will be enhanced. The objective conditions are the quality of the object to whom actions are done and the nature of the relationship. In other words, if one does a wholesome or unwholesome action towards living beings who possess extraordinary qualities such as an arhat or a Buddha, the wholesome or unwholesome action done will have a greater weight. Because our hearts, or even like Lecturer Kai said this morning, people that are cultivators, okay? If we do harm to them, it will be a heavier sin. Finally, the power of wholesome or unwholesome action done towards those who have benefited one in the past, such as one's parents, one's teachers, and one's friends, will be also greater. Because these people, okay, that had taught us, that have raised us, that have trusted us, and we do harm to them, that action is much greater. So, effects of karma. The effects of karma may be evident either in the short term or the long term. It may be manifesting in this life. Okay? So, example is when someone refuses to study, when someone indulges in harmful distractions like alcohol and drugs, and when someone begins to steal to support his harmful habits. The effect will be evident within a short time. Okay? Because if you think about it, if a person refuses to study, what are they going to gain from it? Nothing but suffering, because they will not find a good job in the future. They will not come across people that are virtuous, okay, things like that. So when someone begins to steal, okay, then of course they can get caught and they can go to jail and they can be disowned by the parents, things like that, okay. And when somebody gets involved with intoxicants, they can do harmful things to other people. Okay, so it can be seen in this life, and their karma will catch up with them in this life or in the next life. Okay, but then lastly, after several lives, one will not see the karma effect until several lifetimes later. However, we will not be able to see that until several lives. So this is a long-term effect. But the Buddha and his prominent disciples who have developed their minds to perceive directly the long-term effects can see that. For example, when Galliana was beaten by death by the bandits, beaten to death by the bandits, the Buddha was able to tell that this was an effect from something that Galliana did several lifetimes ago. So what did he do? He had taken his aged parents to the forest and he beaten them to death. Okay? So then he reported that they were killed by bandits. He's lying and he's killing. The effect of this unwholesome action done many lives before, okay, catches up with him during his last life in this world. Okay? So we have to remember, when we die, that goes for everybody. When we die, we have to leave everything behind. Our property, our loved ones, we cannot take anything or anyone with us. But the karma will accompany us everywhere we end up. Everywhere. The karma does not leave us. The karma will be like our shadow everywhere we go. Whether we reincarnate, we go into the temporal world, we go into the absolute world, we go into the underworld, it will still be with us. Okay, so the Buddha has said that nowhere on earth or even in heaven can one escape one's karma. Okay, when the conditions are correct, dependent upon mind and body, the effects of karma will manifest themselves. No matter where we go, it will manifest. Just takes time. Okay. There again is the neutral karma that I mentioned last week. Neutral or ineffective karma is karma that has no moral consequences because the nature of the action have no moral consequence, or because it is done involuntarily and intentionally. Okay, therefore it is called a neutral karma. If there's no intent, if it wasn't voluntary, okay, then that is a neutral karma. Example, when we're sleeping, when we're walking, when we're breathing, when we're eating, okay? So these have no moral consequence in themselves, and there is no intention, and therefore is an ineffective karma. Example is when we stepped on a bug, okay? Accidentally, not intentionally. Not that we see the bug and we step on it, okay? While we're walking, we accidentally stepped on a bug. That is a neutral karma because there was no intent and there was no previous thought of having that bug killed by purposely stepping on it. Okay, so accidental killing of an insect there's no karma. Okay. However, if you think, oh, I gotta kill that bug, I gotta kill that spider, there is a karma. So, conclusion. In the law of karma, if we do a wholesome action, eventually we will get a wholesome fruit. And if we do an unwholesome action, we will get an unwholesome fruit, a painful result. What we sow is what we reap. Wholesome actions produce wholesome results, which is happiness. Unwholesome action produce unwholesome results, which is suffering. So wholesome actions produce benefits. For example, generosity results in wealth, and hearing of the Dharma results in wisdom. The benefits of understanding the law of karma are that it discourages one from performing unwholesome actions, which has suffering as their fruit. Once we understand that in our own life, every action will have a similar and equal reaction. Therefore, we will refrain from unwholesome behavior, not wanting to experience the effects of these unwholesome actions, and cultivate wholesome actions, which give us happiness as their fruit. Okay, any questions? Any comments? 点传师? No? Lecture Kai? No? Lecture Thai? No? Okay. So we have 10 minutes left. Does anybody want to add on to this?
I thought the neutral karma, I thought even though there's accidental killing, I thought there was still some.
Well, this is according to Buddhism. Maybe in the Tao is a little different. Okay.
Well, neutral karma is still karma.
Yeah.
But
the weight is not as heavy.
Neutral only in the sense that there was no
intention
behind it, but nevertheless it still created.
Probably less karma. Heavier karma.
Okay, it still creates a karma.
So always have a good thought in our mind. Okay. So if somebody yells at us, do not hate them. Do not yell back. If somebody hurt us in many different ways, just let it go. Don't have hateful thoughts. Don't have malicious mind, or or say something bad to them. Just don't have any thoughts of retaliation. Okay. Just learn to let go and learn to forgive and learn to forget. If we have that burden of hating them for a long time, that is so much suffering. Not for them, but for us. Think about it. If we hate somebody and we hate to the point that we don't even want to see them, there's a lot of suffering. Okay? Right? We don't want to go to places where that person will be. We don't want to even be in the same room with them. That's a lot of suffering for us. Let it go. Okay? Whatever they did to us, it's not that bad. Right? If they steal from us, it's only money. If they hurt us with words, it's only words, right? Even if they hurt us physically, hey, we're still alive, we're still standing. Look always on the positive of things. If we keep looking on the negative of things, that hate will grow and grow inside of us. Okay, never have hate. It's the three poisons, part of the three poisons. The anger, the greed, and ignorance. Right? So anger and greed, these are also hateful. Okay? So always keep in mind, no words will kill me. No words. Okay? Of course, we don't use words to hurt other people. Right? But even some people that are not cultivators, whatever is in their mind, they will say it and hurt us. But even if cultivators sometimes use their human nature to say things to us, it's okay. Let it go. Right? Words cannot kill me. I mean, it does hurt, but it cannot kill me. Okay? So we have to learn to forget. We will be a much happier person. Okay? Always forgive and forget. Never give an eye for an eye or a fist for a fist. We will be suffering too. We might injure that fist. Just walk away. Okay? Don't even get into an argument. Yes, Mei.
Actually, a lot of time it depends on
Perception?
Perception, yeah. Because situations arise, there's 360-degree that we can look at it. Depending on our angle, we could be looking at it wrongly. Right? That's why
Mindfulness is so important. Always be aware what good we should be doing and not to do the unwholesome acts. Right? So even though we are caught, it's easier said than done. Even if we are right there in that situation, mindfulness. Talk to yourself in your mind. Okay? You say, it's okay. Don't say anything back. Keep your mouth shut. Put a smile on your face and walk out the door. Okay? Practice it. It can happen. Okay? So next time somebody says something nasty to us, put that smile on your face and walk out the door. Yes.
I have a hard time with doing with the kids.
Oh, that's a little different now.
This is very challenging.
Because you're disciplining them. However, we discipline with principles, not screaming and yelling. Okay? We do not discipline them when we're angry. That's very important. If we discipline them when we're angry, nothing but bad stuff comes out, especially our tone of voice.
But they take advantage of you to that.
Well, you gotta sit down. This has to start from a very young age. Okay? So right now your kids are teenagers. It's a little more difficult. So you sit down with them and you tell them what they did is wrong, why they should not do it. But you use principles and they will see and understand why. Remember, when there is a no, they must follow with an explanation why that is a no. No, not just say, no, you cannot do it. Because I am the parent, I say so is what counts. It doesn't work like that. Hello, this is the modern children.
So they're smart enough that we're cultivated. They know we are not supposed to touch them, so they take advantage of that. They're like, oh, dad's not going to do anything to us,
No, but we can use very firm words. Okay, there's a difference. We're not going to spoil them. We're not going to spank them. But we can also use very firm words.
Mm-hmm.
We can punish them, in certain ways. No TV, okay, or no going out. You come straight home from school. You do not have going out time. Something like that. And see if they will listen.
The final alternative.
No Edison, no internet.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, no internet.
I did that, but they
Or have
downloaded
them write some Chinese, copy the sutras 100 times or something. Okay, in Chinese, not in English now. Okay, so this way they will say, I don't want to write Chinese, right?
Is he saying that you're actually done? You know, I said, can you do your homework? Yeah, you're done. 8 o'clock at night, I gotta do my homework, The internet's down. Can you turn the internet?
Yeah, well, that also depends on how firm you are. If you're too lenient, they won't listen because they already know you will always say yes eventually.
Well, it becomes repetitive, so they know what, well, dad's going to turn on the internet.
Well, you kids are very good, so I wouldn't even worry.
I'm not
Okay.
worried about that.
Your kids are very
But
good.
it takes time.
It does take time. And especially teenagers, that's the worst age to deal with. They talk back to you.
Oh, yeah.
They show their anger. They'll scream at you. Okay. They will run out and say, "I'm running away from home." Okay. You gotta deal with all that stuff. However, you gotta think in advance. What happens if they do run away from home? What are you gonna do?
You chase after.
They will all do that to scare you. They will do that.
Didn't Kevin do that once?
What Kevin do is he
Ryan
stopped
did that.
and he went upstairs and he slammed the door on me. And then I made him say sorry to the door 100 times.
Did he say it?
Yeah, he had to say it.
Were you counting?
Well, I made him do it several times, now he will do it.
You see? Things like that. Okay.
Oh, and I made him say sorry to the every stair that he stumped on.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it may sound stupid, but it works, right? Everybody teaches their children differently. But you can talk it over with all the parents. You can learn from them. Maybe their ways is different, but maybe it can work on you. Okay? Everybody teaches differently. But always be cautious. They do run away. Ryan did that one time. He did. When he was, I don't remember how old he was, 14 or 15.
Really?
He ran off, and it was dark, and he's not home yet. So I'm panicking, right? He never did this before. So I started to go and walk in the neighborhood to look for him. I found him sitting outside of the library steps. Okay? So, well, number one, if they ran off, they will have that anger in them. And they will feel, I don't want to go home because this is supposed to be running off. So unless you go and find them, they will feel that it's embarrassing to walk into the house unless you understand what I mean? Because they already said they're running off. Okay? So that's their mentality. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. Well, there's some teenagers here, I should say that.
No, it's okay. The college level kids.
No, not everybody. Not everybody. Some people are still teenagers. Okay? So just be careful. The thing is communicate. Communicate. Alright? And most importantly, watch their friends who they hang out with. 'Cause that will have a big effect on their life.
Well, I wish kids could hang out more instead of just staying online.
However, you think about it. If they hang out in the streets, would that be better?
No, go to the library, go to the school.
Well, they may not want to go to library. They want to have games out in the street with the neighbors' kids or something.
You can have your
Or
kids
hang-
help you cook and do housework. This way they don't have to spend all day doing, online.
Easy to put the plates on the table. 10 minutes later, nothing on it.
Well, you have to nag on every day. And then you say you're not a free maid.
Yeah, I think.
So if I say anything wrong, I ask God and all these things and do this for good.